Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was about to say Shabbat Shalom, but it's not Shabbat. Today is May 16th, 2021. My name's Joe Dumond, and welcome to SaidMoon.com. I have been bragging up what we are about to talk about today for quite a while. And hang on. Well, we got some feedback here. I don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from me. That's where it's coming from. There we go. Got it stopped. Okay. My apologies. Anyway, I'm super excited. I've just brought these two gentlemen in here today, just a half hour ago. They can't stop talking about what they're finding. So I'm going to get through my introduction here real quick, and then I'm going to let you listen to them because it's not about me today. It's all about them. So I want to start in Matthew 24. Matthew 24. And we're just going to read some stuff there because everyone talks about this stuff. Few people know what it means and where to look. And we're going to start doing some of that today. Now, we've been sharing you about the Sabbatical Jubilee for quite a while. Matthew 24. Then Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came up to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, Do you not see all these things? Assuredly, I say to you, not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. Now, as he sat on the Mount of Olives, so here's the verse I want you to listen to. As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And Jesus answered and said to them, Take heed that no one deceives you. Now, you can go through that and read the rest of it. In fact, I encourage you to go through it and read the rest of it. What is the sign? What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of this age? Okay, so now let's go over to Luke 21. And I'm balancing my Bible in my one hand, my laptop on my lap, so it's going to be jerking around here a little bit, so forgive me. Luke 21. Luke 21, verses 25 to 28. Luke 21, verses 25 to 28. And there will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars, and on the earth distress of nations with perplexity, and the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now, when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws nigh. What is the sign of the coming of the Son of Man? It's a sign, right? It's a sign. It's not the sounding of a shofar. It's a sign. And it's to appear and to be seen. All right? So I have Mark Webb here today with us, and I have Cyrus Harding, and they've been on here before. And I am thrilled that they're here. So I want to introduce you to Mark Webb of livingmessiah.com, and he's here. And you can say hello, Mark. Make sure your mic is working.
Shalom.
And Cyrus Harding of Codgerville, the website. I'm not sure. I'll post it up here in a minute. But before we get into these guys, because they're just chomping at the bit to go on here, I've got to share some things with you, and then maybe when we're talking about this, we can bring it up again. At SaidMoon.com, we teach about the Sabbatical Jubilee years, and we've been teaching about them for since 2005. We've shown you through the Sabbatical Jubilee years that certain things were supposed to happen at certain times. The end of the 6th millennial day, the start of the 7th millennial day, is going to be 2045. That's undisputable. You can check our numbers. You can do your own research. It's undisputable. And it's not that I'm super smart. It's that Jehovah chose a dummy to reveal it to. And I qualified for that. So you can do this. But let me show you some things here. And I'm going to share my page or share my screen. And we're going to go to so what we're looking at here is the year 1656. Mark, can you see that on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, so 1656 on the right-hand side, that's the year of the flood. That is equivalent to 2181 BC. I'm not going to explain all that today. That's not what today's lesson is about, but I want you to know this date. Write down 2181 BC. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to come up to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And that took place at 2047 after the creation of Adam, which is on the right-hand side. And that is equivalent to 1790 BC. Okay? Another date to write down, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, what I have here in the green, in 2028, that was the year that Abraham or Jehovah made the covenant with Abraham. That is equivalent to our BC year of 1809 BC. Why is all this significant? I don't know. They're just numbers I picked out of a hat and threw on a graph, and they showed up in this order. And Mark's going to talk about some of this stuff today. So now I'm going to scroll up to our current Jubilee cycle. We're in the year 2021. 2021. The next Jubilee year is 2045. The 49th year, or the last year of this 6th millennial day, is 2044. Write those numbers down. You can go to sightedmoon.com and you can either order the charts if you want. They're e-charts. You have to print them off yourself, or you can download them from our site and you can start studying this stuff. We are currently doing a series on explaining each of the sabbatical years to prove them to you, doing a video series, but we have lots of stuff there on our site. My book, Remembering the Sabbatical Year 2016, you can also get and prove these things for yourself. Okay, so that's my introduction. What you're about to learn today is going to gobsmack you, as they say in South Africa or Australia. As we say in Canada, it's going to hit you upside the head and stun you. And I've been telling Mark to shut up. Don't tell me anything, because I don't want to know until we do this show. He has got information that I think is about to blow us away. But before Mark speaks, I've asked Cyrus to update us. Now, I'm not going to reintroduce Cyrus and all the things that he's gotten right about COVID-19, the stock market crash, and the riots. He's got all these dates right, and he's going by the perigee of the moon as it goes around the earth. And it's a full moon. When the full moon is full and in perigee or close to the earth, then things begin to happen. It's the same as the moon causes the tides to go up and down. Well, he's got other information and he's looking at this stuff. And each time I have these guys on, they stun me. So, Cyrus, welcome to today's broadcast. I'm going to ask you to go first. You are now seeing, we're in the middle of a triple supermoon cycle. And I think last time you're on, and I got 2 pens today, by the way, because I ran out of ink last time. But last time you were on, you told us we were about to go into the crazy cycle once again, about now. And lo and behold, things are starting to happen. I don't know if that's creepy or what, or prophetic or what. But I do know that since I first started talking to you, you have a track record that's proven pretty accurate. So what are you looking at now? What do you see coming up and when? And thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, Brother Joe. It's my pleasure. And I enjoy being here with you and Brother Mark. It's a real treat. What I believe I told you the dates were between May 3rd and June 14th. That would be basically, if there was going to be a war, it would be between May 3rd and June 14th. And
but you were looking at Russia.
You had asked me in time. Yes, sir. I was looking at Russia. I have some other countries on my website that I posted as well. And I think it included Afghanistan, Iran, and some others. But that's correct. And we came very close to a war. And, praise Yah, cooler heads prevailed. And Russia withdrew some of their troops away from the Ukrainian border. It's still tense, and there is still shelling going on, primarily from the Ukrainian side, into the area known as the Donbass, which is Luhansk and Donetsk. There's still tension there. And from out of the blue, we suddenly have military strikes taking place in the Gaza Strip and Israel, with literally thousands of missiles being launched. And the Iron Dome is doing a very good job, but according to some insiders, Israel can't get missiles fast enough to continue the Iron Dome, so they're actually going to, or already have invaded, to try to curtail some of the missile launches. So all of this is going on. And like I said, if it was going to happen, it was going to happen between May 3rd and June 14th. I'm still not.
If you guys are doubting what Cyrus is saying, go back to our previous videos. It's all documented there. It's right there. You just go to my website, citymoon.com, look up media, look up the interview section. And that's where you'll find all our interviews that we've done with both these gentlemen, in the past year. So carry on, Cyrus.
Well, we're still in this cycle. And in fact, we haven't even reached the peak yet. Okay, the peak is going to be that period of time right around May 26th to June, I think it's June 4th, June 10th. And what happens that tipped me off as to being a war cycle, you see your craziness factor kick in with the lunar side of it. And when you have certain solar type events, then you start looking for influences that might be economic, that might be political, that might be war, might be military. This cycle was a solar eclipse coming up in June 10th, is a top down over the earth. The only place we'll see it will be the countries that border the Arctic Circle. Okay, we're talking about Canada, United States, because of Alaska, Denmark because of Greenland, Northern Europe, Scandinavia primarily, Russia, Ukraine, Siberia. That's why I was concentrating on these countries.
And this crazy cycle, forgive me, Cyrus. We got a lag in our communications here, so I apologize for this. This crazy cycle, and from what you said last time, we are going up to 60% on your scale of craziness, and we're jumping from 40% prior to the April 27th, going up to about 60% come June. You say 10th. I wrote down June 24th before. Is that correct? We're going. That's the amount of crazy, and we just came out of the crazy.
June 14th is the time frame that I highlighted, May 3rd to June 14th. Okay, that encompasses both eclipses, both solar and lunar. Okay, and remember what I told you about on the lunar eclipses, they tend to increase. I'm sorry, full moons rather. During these period of times, we'll have a full moon. And we see that a day or two either side of a full moon is when you get the maximum effect of chaos, craziness, whatever you want to call it. That's if something's going to happen, that's when it's going to happen. And it boosts up by 10% the height of the cycle. At 60%, then for those days around the full moon, 1 or 2 days either side, it's going to jump to 70. Okay. And then it's going to go back down for the remainder of that period of time.
So this full moon that you're talking about, and again, ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 brothers here, and we're on 3 different calendars. Okay. For me, we have just started the 4th month. For Cyrus, we've just started the 3rd month. And for third month, and for Mark, we've just started the 2nd month. And so what you're saying for June 24th, that'll be I'm looking at the month of the curse of Israel during the 5th month, the month of Av.
So you're
and I'm seeing this
month of Av, right?
This pattern developing that you're saying. That I'm just pointing that out again. So we have some room here depending on which calendar you're on, but that's what I'm seeing you say. But you have more to say about later on in the year.
Yes, sir. The next coming we have the November 19th lunar eclipse, and then we have the December 4th solar eclipse. Now, this is really, really odd. This time, the solar eclipse will only be visible from the top of the world. Next time, coming up December 4th, the solar eclipse will only be visible from the bottom of the world. Okay, so it's like we're seeing, I don't know how to express it, but it's like we're seeing, I'll just use a kind of a euphemism. He's shaking the world from top to bottom. Okay. And so this eclipse that's coming in December is going to affect Antarctica, South Africa, and the Southern Atlantic areas like the Falkland Islands and things like that. But it really is, when you look at how these things occur, it's really odd to see it go from the top to the bottom and affect very little solar-wise in between. And to even begin to tell you what I think that means, I don't know, but I would say that I'm looking at a very strong period of instability, just like we're looking at right now. And as I mentioned when we were off camera, I've got weeks worth of calculations to do here. Yeah, thanks to Brother Mark.
Tell you so. What he said off camera, ladies and gentlemen, is that his desk has got notes and calculations that are about an inch thick of papers all over his desk as he's trying to figure out these things because Mark asked him one little question. What's next?
Yeah. The dog ate my homework.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
Okay,
coming
now
up.
there's
So
Go
I
ahead.
question I have for Brother Cyrus is, so you said like the way you would describe it as a shaking. I remember off camera you mentioned another word about the earthquake, whether that is in the land
they're
or
reeling to
financial.
and fro like a drunkard.
Yeah, very interesting. And that, if you
Yes.
were to, I would encourage everyone to go back and look at the comet that we talked about that was going to happen during the month of December this year, coinciding with what Brother Cyrus just mentioned. It's very, very interesting because the comet goes through the head and the tail of the serpent or the snake. And so here Brother Cyrus is talking about a visual eclipse in the top and the bottom, the head and the tail. So very, very interesting correlation between what he's referring to and what this comet is doing in December.
Okay, so Cyrus, I don't want to cut you off, but do you have any more that you wanted to share, or are you just eager to get?
I want to share two other things.
Okay, yes, sir.
I just want to share two other things. If you go back to my website, you'll see I wrote an article about the Aleph Tav solar eclipses over the United States. Okay. And we are going to see two parts of that coming up in 2023. That solar eclipse will be October 14th. And then the next one will be 2024, April 8th. That will complete the Aleph Tav over the United States. And I can't even begin to understand what might happen. But I'm honestly, and I tell everybody in the Kahal, and my wife's tired of hearing about it, but but it's judgment is the way I look at it. Judgment coming to America. Of course, I believe judgment for America started, back in 1996, but I think that it's almost like saying X marks the spot. It's going to start. That's it.
Okay, that is. I've heard a little bit about that. I've seen some of that. Is there a particular spot that is that this X is marking? Is it that something? Is there something about that spot, or
Yes,
is it just that it's the United States?
Well, one of them is, the line going through to make the Aleph, and then you have the Tav being the X. We actually have two spots. One is right around San Antonio, Texas, and the other one's right around Cairo, Illinois, between Cairo, Illinois, and St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Now, you might say, well, Cairo, Illinois doesn't really have anything there, but you have to remember it's on the New Madrid fault line.
Okay, I'm just writing. I'm just trying to use up all my ink again today.
I have one other question to ask Brother Cyrus. So it's interesting because this 23 and 24 is ending the 7-year period of our 2017 solar eclipse over the U.S. The 2024 one is another one we have. They're 7 years apart. And you're seeing this Aleph Tav in the last 2 years of that. Israel sees a solar eclipse in 2028, I believe it is, or 2027. And then they see the final one in 2034. So I would be interested to see if you could find an Aleph Tav appearing in those last two, because it's a 7-year period apart as ours is. And if there was an olive tav appearing in 33 and 34 for that one, as we're having here, that would be very interesting. So if you could add one other thing to your research, that would be a really phenomenal thing.
Why not? Okay.
And
Why
just,
not? Got nothing else to do.
And just to mention, so that you understand.
2033 and oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Cyrus. Finish up.
2033 and what was the other one? 2034.
Yeah, because I think the last solar eclipse. So it's a 7-year period. They see one in, I think it's 2028, 28, 29, 30.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. So 34 is the second one, 7 years apart, just like our 2017 and 2024. And since you're seeing this happening in the last 2 years of our 7, if there was something common or something similar in the last 2 years of theirs, that would be very interesting.
Okay, I'll look for it.
And just so that everyone knows, the year 2023 is a sabbatical year, and it finishes at Aviv in 2024. It starts at Aviv and finishes at Aviv. So 2023 to 2024, and this is the time that this X is being marked out. Just pointing out something. I don't know what it means. I have no idea. But Cyrus wanted to be here today really bad to hear what Mark's got to say. And what Mark's got to say, as I put in the description, it's blown him away. And he's been chomping at the bit to tell us, and I keep telling him, I don't want to hear it until we do this show. I want to hear it when you all hear it. He's given me some clues. And I'm excited. And I was up late last night thinking about it. I had to stop thinking about it so I could go to sleep. And when I laid down to go to sleep, I couldn't stop thinking about all the things that the little hints he'd already given me. And Mark, the mic's yours. People, be prepared to be blown away.
Well, and I do want to say I really appreciate the research you've done, Brother Joseph, on the Sabbatical Cycles. Talked a lot about it, and I really appreciate Brother Cyrus's work. These are very, very important. And I think that I've said this before to the other gentleman, and I'll say it to everyone else. I think that we've been brought together for a purpose, and so it is exciting and fun to be a part of this. So I have a screen to share. Let me see. Let me grab the right one. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I just want to always point out Psalm 19:1, because people say, okay, why are we looking at the heavens? Why spend time looking at the heavens? And it's because they knew something that we haven't really understood for some time, and that is the heavens are telling the glory of God. Their expanse is declaring the work of his hands, and day to day it pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge, as Brother Cyrus is finding out in looking at the moon and those other cycles. So I want to remind us, I'm going to be speaking about this because Brother Joseph had asked me to, well, I had looked at this particular comet and seen a correlation to the birth of Messiah's time and what's coming in the future. And then I wanted to see, is there something about when Abraham received the promise from this comet? And it's astounding to see the message that it's telling. And so that's what I hope to share with you today, is the message that this comet brought during the promise of Abraham and the birth of the Messiah. So I'm going to start off with Genesis 15:5, and it says, and he took him outside and he said, now look toward the heavens and count the stars if you can. Of course, the word count is this word Shofar, and it means to relate, meaning, can you tell what the story in the heavens are telling, like it says in Psalm 19. And then it says, and he said to him, so shall your, In some English, it says descendants plural, but actually the Hebrew word is zar, and it's singular, as I've highlighted in the yellow highlight there. So he says, he's telling Abraham, what you're seeing in the heavens, this story, what you're witnessing is about your descendant. You're someone coming from your loins. Okay. So this comet takes place on March 5th, 1809 is when it begins. The comet is called Machols, and it starts off in what's called Cetus, the sea monster. And this is from The Witness of the Stars from E.W. Bullinger. It's the great enemy bound.
So just let me interrupt you, Mark. Just Cyrus, I've had to mute you because we're getting feedback off your mic. So if you want to talk, just turn on your mic. But that's why I showed you, ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning, the covenant made with Abraham, 1809. And this is the same year that, or 1809 BC. This is the same year Mark is now looking up in the skies. What was Abraham looking at that time? Okay.
And so I've put things for you guys to read on the left. I'm not going to go through all of those, but you can go back and look and read it. I do have some things highlighted in yellow that we're going to read, but I'm not going to read all of it. So this comet begins in this constellation of Cetus, the sea monster, or what's often referred to in the scriptures as Leviathan. So it's very interesting that takes place starting there in March of 1809. Then it goes into what's called the band. And so you can see here, can everyone see my cursor?
No.
Okay. So let me do this. Can you see it now?
Yes, a little bit, but the picture's small.
Yeah, so I'll blow it up. So can you see it better here?
Yep.
So this is the band that is connecting the Cetus, the sea monster, the sea dragon, with the fish, which is called Pisces, the fish. And so the band here is another constellation separate from the dragon and the fish. But it's interesting that this comet now moves into Pisces, into the band. And so E.W. Bullinger says this about the band. I'm going to these other things you can read later, but I want to talk about what's highlighted in yellow. He says, it speaks of the coming one. Now remember, Abraham is up looking at something that's taking place, and he's telling him, this is your seed. So E.W. Bullinger says that this band is talking about the coming one, not in his relation to himself or to his enemies, but in relation to the redeemed. Now, why is that important about the redeemed? We're going to read later that one of the things that Yorevave tells him is that your descendants are going to be captive in a nation, not their own. But the good news is that they're going to be redeemed. And so the story about the captives of Abraham's seed, the multitudes, which are about the fish, they are going to be redeemed at some point down the road after their captivity. And it speaks of him who says, I drew them with cords of a man, with bands of love, and I was to them as they take off the yoke of their jaws, Hosea 11:4. Okay, so this is what Abraham is seeing. This is happening in 1809 BCE, and it's talking about, as it says here, the coming one, your descendant. This is going to be your descendant. Okay. But it also speaks of his unloosing the bands which they have been so long bound. Immediately above is seen a woman chained and captive. We're going to look at that in a minute. The woman that's bound in the chains. The fishes are bound to the great dragon. The woman Andromeda is chained, but to the deliverer of both is near. So the deliverer is coming. So Abraham is seeing that, the promise. Cephas, the crowned king, the redeemer, the breaker, the branch, remember the branch, is seen coming quickly for the deliverance of his redeemed. So Abraham's seeing this promise. He understands what this constellation is. Israel now is bound. The great enemy still oppresses, but deliverance is sure. Aries, which is important because we're going to go to Aries here in a minute, the ram, is seen with this pause on this band as though about to loosen the bands and set the captives free, and to fast bind their great oppressor. So now the comet in 1809 moves from the band to Aries the ram. This is the lamb that was slain, prepared for the victory. Abraham seeing this. This is your descendant, God Almighty is telling him. And so I left this stuff. I'll kind of escape out of here because you might want to see this in a bigger picture. So this is where this comet goes here. It goes from the band down here into Aries the ram, and Jupiter, the king planet, also enters this area at this point. Very, very interesting sign. Abraham is witnessing this sign, and it's telling him a story. He's relating the story. So the next thing I want to go to is in the Dendera zodiac, which is in Egypt. It's the oldest zodiac that man knows of. The name of this constellation, the ram, is called this Tematoris Ammon, which is actually means the lamb, which means the reign or dominion or government of the lamb. The lamb's head is without horns and is crowned with a circle. The Hebrew name is Telah, the lamb. In John 1:29, it says, "Behold the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sins of the world." And the ancient Akkadian name was Bara Zigar, and Bar means altar or sacrifice, and Zigar means right making, so that the full name would mean the sacrifice of righteousness. Very interesting. So Abraham is seeing this witness take place in his day. In the chief star in the ram, in the forehead, it is named El Nath or El Natik, which means the wounded or slain one. The next in the left horn is called Al Sharatan, the bruised, the wounded. The next near this B location is called Mesarim, Hebrew mean the bound. And so E.W. Bullinger seeing this, because even though the world has perverted the picture of the constellations, the star names have not been perverted. They have maintained their identity and definition in all 5 ancient languages. And so E.W. Bullinger is seeing this, and he says, how is it there is no conflicting voice? How is it that all the stars unite in one harmonious voice, like Psalm 19 says, in testifying of the Lamb of God slain and bruised, but yet living forevermore, singing together, worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength, honor and glory and blessing. As he told Abraham, so shall your descendant be. This is your descendant that's coming. Promised Abraham that he considered very, very great. So the next place that this comet goes to in 1809 is the fish. And E.W. Bullinger says that this
1809 BC.
1809 BCE, yes. So it's called the redeemed, blessed, though bound. Remember this word blessing, because this is part of the blessing that he tells Abraham about them after they come out. They're going to come out with a great wealth, a great blessing. All right. So can everyone see this pretty good? The comet going into the fish. So you can see that the comet is lighting the fish up, and it's lighting up Andromeda, the woman that's bound. Can you see the chains?
Can you just blow that up a little bit, please?
Yeah, let's blow that up. Okay, can you see the chains?
Yep.
So this is Andromeda. The comet has gone into the fish. It's going to go here in a minute into the chains, but she's bound. And so it goes into the fish, the multitude, and that's where this picture that he's seeing in 1809 BCE, okay? So that's what's happening. That's where it goes next. All right. So the next thing I want to read to you is the ancient Egyptian name, as known on the Dendera zodiac, is Pikot Orion or Pisces Hori, which means the fishes of him that cometh. So Abraham's saying it's this Redeemer and the fishes, it's of him that cometh. The Hebrew name is Dagim, the fishes, which is closely connected with the multitudes, as in Genesis 48:26, where Jacob blesses Joseph's sons and says, let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. The margin says, let them grow as fishes that do increase. It refers to the fulfillment of Genesis 1:28, be fruitful and multiply. The multitude of Abraham's seed is prominent in the pronouncement of the blessings, where God compared his future posterity to the stars of the sky and the sand upon the sea shore, a very great multitude of fish. So again, Abraham seeing God's promise through this comet being pronounced in the heavens. Okay. And then Genesis 15:14, and afterward they will come out with many possessions, a great blessing. The sign then speaks of the multitudes who should enjoy the blessings of the Redeemer's work. So that's here in this fish, the Pisces, we're witnessing that the comet has gone into. Genesis 17:14 says, as for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you will be the father of a multitude of nations, a great multitude. These fish that's multituding out into a great posterity. If these signs and these star pictures be the results of inspired patriarchs, then the sign of the Pisces can refer to his seed, which was promised to Abraham. Prophesied of in Isaiah 53, we shall see his seed. It must refer to the nation whose God is Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, and the people whom he hath chosen for his own inheritance. Psalm 33:2. I'll leave this up for just a moment so you guys can read it later on in the show. I'm just not going to go through that. Indeed, this sign of Pisces has always been interpreted of Israel. This is from E.W. Bullinger. Both Jews and Gentiles have agreed in this. Abar Banel, a Jewish commentator writing on Daniel, affirms that the sign Pisces has always referred to the people of Israel. So Abram is seeing this comet go into this sign of his future seed. Just astonishing. I'll leave this up because there's a lot of awesome information here for you to read later, but there's nothing in here or in this slide that I'm going to take the time into going into. But again, it's something for you guys to pause and read later, as this sign is, because I know that we're going to have questions and I want to get to those. I was just, for the sake of the length of the show, I kind of condensed it a little bit. But thou, O Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend, thou whom I have taken hold of from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the corners thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant. I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away. Fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy Elohim. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Okay, so now we move into the next place that this comet goes into, which is the woman bound in the chains. It's called by E.W. Bullinger, the chained woman, the redeemed in their bondage and affliction. So they went into Egypt. He told him they're going to go into Egypt in bondage and affliction. And yet Abraham is seeing this comet go into exactly what this sign tells.
And just, so, Mark, sorry to interrupt you again. The comet, the pictures you're showing here are what Abraham would have saw in 1809 BC.
1809 BCE. The comet goes right here into right into the chains. I mean, if I would have tried to forge something into what I would have liked to have seen, I couldn't have done a better job than what actually happened in 1809. It's really stunning. So it goes right here into this chain of the woman who's bound, which we see that he's telling him, know for certain, your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and they will be enslaved. Right here, it's showing the comet goes into the enslavement, the chains. But don't be worried. They're going to come out. A Redeemer is going to deliver them. And so that's the promise Abraham is seeing. Another slide that you can look at a little later And another one talking about the coming deliverer. You guys can look at it a little bit later. All right, so in September the 10th of 1806 BCE, just before Abraham sees the witness, Jupiter, the king planet, goes right across the king star. It crosses it right over with Mars here right next to it. And of course, Leo, according to E.W. Bullinger, is the lion of the tribe of Judah, who is aroused for the rending of the enemy. And I would say here, what Abraham would be seeing is an idea of rending of the enemy of Egypt, who is going to bind his people. But what's interesting is, in September the 10th, 3 BCE, this is what everyone refers to as the Star of Bethlehem. Jupiter, I'm going to break out of this so you can see it a little bit bigger. The king planet, and this is again in 3 BCE, just before, around the time of the birth of the Messiah. It's doing a triple conjunction over the king star. So Jupiter comes like this, it crosses over Regulus, the king star, and comes back over a second time the king star, and crosses a third time over the king star. The king planet doing a triple crossing over the king star. And it actually starts in 3 BCE and carries all the way into 2 BCE.
So just so that I think you're on the same page, but I'm just going to say it so everyone understands. September 11th, 3 BC is
September the 10th.
No, I'm saying September 11th. September 11th, 3 BC is the birthday of Yeshua.
Okay.
September 11th, 3 BC. And Mark is looking at September 10th and up until, what was the final date here?
It'll go from September 10th, 3 BCE to somewhere in, I didn't write the actual month, all the way into 2 BC. So for a whole year.
Okay. For a whole year. And the Magi come following the star in the east. And I'm not trying to steal Mark's thunder here, but I believe September 11th, 3 BC is the day the Messiah was born. And we base that on other things. But okay, I just want to point that out. I don't want that to slip by. That's why I've asked you to check this date. Go ahead.
All right. So here we have two very interesting phenomenons happening the same month, same day, just many, many years apart. And again, I'm pointing this out because the one here in 1806 actually happened prior to, let's see, is it prior to or after? It'd be after, right? So around the time of this comet going through the promise, that's being made to Abraham, and the one in September 3 BCE, it's doing this triple conjunction right at the time of this event and right before this comet that we referred to back here in the beginning. This comet Maholtz is going to make another appearance around the time of the Savior's birth. Okay? So that's what I want to talk about next. The connection between this comet Maholtz being a sign of the coming one, possibly a sign. To me, it's just, I don't know, it's very coincidental that this comet is making these two appearances and bringing about a very interesting sign. So let's look at where it goes first. So this comet goes in Maholtz, goes from July 19th to August 15th of 2 BCE. And it starts, I've got to blow it up here so that you can see. It starts right down here in the constellation called Hydra, which is the serpent. Okay? The serpent. All right? Very interesting. All right, so that's where it begins in 2 BCE. So if the Magi were following a star, could it be the sign that they were following was this comet Maholtz, the same one that Abram saw in his promise? So this sign is appearing. They're following it, but they're following the pattern and the story that it's traveling through at that time. All right. So let's look at here. It goes right through the heads of the serpent, cutting the serpent's heads off. And of course, this comet Hydra in E.W. Bullinger is that old serpent, the devil, being destroyed. Okay. Because you can see the paws of the lion roused for the rending of the enemy. He's above the serpent, ready to pounce on it. All right. So the comet then goes through here. The Magi are watching this. Very interesting. And then the comet takes a turn and comes into the lion, Leo the lion, and it goes hit this. Let me blow it up here so you can see. Remember, Jupiter has just done that triple conjunction over the king star. This is the king star here. Jupiter was just here doing the sign of the birth, right? But now the comet is right.
Was Jupiter doing that in 2 BC as well, or just in 3 BC?
Remember I said it went all the way. It started in 3 BCE and continued all the way into 2 BCE.
Okay.
And so now, as it just left, here's Mars and the sun doing a crossover. But this king star, the comet, is passing right nearly over the king star. Wow. That had to tell the Magi they had just witnessed Jupiter doing its thing. Now they're seeing this star they're following, and it went into the king star. And this was August. Okay. So evidently just sometime before August, Joseph, the Jupiter finished its thing. All right. So this happens in 3 BCE. I'm not going to read this stuff that E.W. Bullinger talks about the lion. You guys can read that a little bit later if you'd like. But I want to go into the next place it goes, because this is where it gets astonishing.
Do I need a drum roll? Drum roll?
So this is so this here is where the comet goes into next, which is called Coma Berenice. It was perverted to look like a wig, but that's not what it looks like. In the oldest zodiac picture we have, which is the Dendera on the ceiling of the temple in Egypt, this is what it looked like then. So you can see the branch that the Virgin is holding in her right hand, the branch. And here, instead of a wig, it's called Coma, the desired. The child that the woman is holding, that she's given birth to, is the desire of all the nations, the desired one. What an astounding vision that the Magi are witnessing, that it just crossed over the king star, and now it goes into the desire of the nations. Remember the branch that the woman is holding. She's holding the branch in her right hand. As you can see right here, she's got the branch here. And so what's next to the branch? It's this spot right here, right next to the branch. And so I do want to read to you what E.W. Bullinger says about this, which is very interesting. This coma, the desired, it's the woman and child, the desire of all nations. The first constellation in Virgo explains that this coming branch will be a child, and that he should be the desire of all nations. The ancient name of this constellation is Coma, the desired or the longed for. We have the word used by the Holy Spirit in this very connection in Haggai 2:7. The desire of all nations shall come. It was in all probability the constellation of Coma in which the star of Bethlehem appeared. Let me say that again. E.W. Bullinger says it was in all probability that the constellation of Coma is where the star of Bethlehem appeared. And here we see this comet making this pass that the Magi saw coming into this. It says we followed his star. Well, I say I would propose to you that they were following the path of this comet that they probably thought was a star, a moving star, just like the other roving planets that they thought were roaming stars. So there was a traditional prophecy well known in the East, carefully preserved and handed down, that a new star would appear in this sign when he whom it was foretold would be born. And I would propose to you that this comet coming in is actually telling that story. Just absolutely phenomenal. I'll leave this up for a moment where you guys can read later, but it talks about this one. Well, let me read this one piece. One step more places this new star in the constellation of Coma, and with new force makes it indeed his star, the sign of his. So Joseph talked about the sign. He read Matthew and Luke, but this star, or maybe this comet, is his star, his sign, just like what Abraham saw, the same comet of his coming forth from Bethlehem. Will it be the sign of the Son of Man in heaven? Matthew 24:30. E.W. Bullinger references the same passage that Joseph read. When he shall come unto this world again to complete the wondrous prophecies written of him in the heavenly and earthly revelations. All I can say is, wow, wow, wow. And so here's the final picture I want to share with you is this comet then goes from here into Coma, the desire of the nations, and then it goes into the branch. You can't get any more prophetic than this, because here is what it says: the virgin, whom bearing a branch in her right hand and an ear of corn in her left, which is barley, the promised seed of the woman. This happened in August 13th, 2 BCE. Here is the commencement of all prophecy in Genesis 3:15, spoken to the serpent. I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. This is the prophetic announcement which the revelation of the heavens and the book is designed to unfold and develop. It lies at the root of all the ancient traditions and mythologies, which are simply the perversion and corruption of the primitive truth. Virgo is represented as a woman with a branch in her right hand and some ears of corn in her left, thus giving a twofold testimony of the coming one. Wow, wow. The Magi are seeing this. How crazy is it that this comet goes through the King Star into the constellation called the Desire of the Nations, and into the branch, which is referring to the promised seed of the woman? I can't think of any other way to put it than an amazing witness and sign, the sign that they saw that foretold the coming of the Messiah. If you want to, I'll break for a minute if we want to.
No, don't. We don't want you. We're just, you
okay,
got us all with our mouths hanging open here.
Okay.
What's
So let me go to this next piece. So the sign of this sign in the Hebrew is Bethula, which means virgin, and the Arabic a branch. The two words are connected, as in Latin Virgo, which means a virgin, or Virga, which means the branch. Another name is Sunbul in Arabic, which means the ear of the corn. Again, the ancient names have not lost their meaning. Even though the pictures have been perverted, the ancient names in all ancient languages still tell the story. I think we read this already. I'll leave this up for you guys to read again about these, the names of the stars and how it prophetically talks about the coming one, the Redeemer. And the same would go for this one. This is interesting. I want to read this. Jeremiah 23:5 says, behold, days are coming, says Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, a son, and a king shall reign and prosper. The account of his coming as king is written in the gospel according to Matthew, where Jehovah says to Israel, behold thy king. Zechariah 9:9 and Matthew 21:9. Zechariah 3:8 says, behold, I will bring forth my servant the branch. In the gospel according to Mark, we find the record of Jehovah's servant and his service, and we hear Jehovah's voice saying, behold my servant, in Isaiah 42:1. Zechariah 6:12 says, thus speaks of Jehovah of hosts, saying, behold, the man whose name is the branch. In the gospel according to Luke, we behold him presented in the man Messiah Yahushua. Isaiah 4:2 says, in that day shall the branch of Jehovah be beautiful and glorious, so that this branch, this son, is Jehovah himself. And as we read the record of John, we hear the voice from heaven saying, behold, your Elohim, Isaiah 49. This is the branch foretold by the star Al-Zamak in the ear of the corn, the barley, which is very, very interesting. Okay. I have 2 more slides, and then we can take some questions. So this same planet, the king planet, Jupiter, in the year 2038, will make a triple conjunction over the king star as it did in 3 BCE. So in the coming up, which is 2038, is the beginning of the 7th Shemitah cycle. And we have the king star making a triple conjunction over the king planet making a triple conjunction over the king star in 2038 CE ahead of us. Very prophetic. So I'm seeing a connection between what happened at the sign of the Son of Man at his birth, coming in the future, the same sign appearing again. And then I put these 3 slides together to show you in 1806 BCE, September 10, 3 BCE, and November 10, 38, Jupiter does this same thing again, these 3 times.
Okay, so while you're catching your breath, we're all just kind of stunned here and like, wow, like that's an apt description that you got there. Wow, wow, wow. Did you check Jupiter over, what's that star called again?
The king star is Regulus.
Regulus.
It
Yes.
also happens to be one of the 4 corners of the heavens.
Did you check Jupiter and Regulus in conjunction for other years, or?
It does cross over Jupiter in other years, but it's very rare that it does a triple.
Okay.
It might do it once, or it might do it twice. Well, I'm sorry. It'll do it once, but it won't do a triple. Yeah.
Okay. So a triple in 2038. And on the Sabbatical Jubilee Year charts, 2038 is the start of the 7 years, the final 7 years leading into, or at the end of the 6th millennium, about to begin the 7th millennium. So that would be like the wedding, Sukkot, the 7 days of Sukkot, followed by the 8th day, which would be the 8th year, or the Jubilee year in 2045. And I can see a lot of things happening with that, lining up with things that I'm saying. You got your breath yet?
Someone asked, when does this comet come again?
Well, see, I was going to give you time to get more breathing in, because when is that answer? What is that answer? When is that going to take place? Because I asked you to check some other things, and you went ballistic when you came back.
Well, there's a lot of stuff. You asked me to check some things, and I did, and I won't go into those yet, but they're wanting to know when this star comes again in the future going ahead of us. And I would say this, I think I'm coming to a conclusion that this comet, when it comes through, is giving us some very prophetic signs. And I will tell you that this comet makes an interesting appearance in 2028, 2033, and 2038.
What was the first date? 2028, you said?
2028, 2033, which is interesting because this is what Brother Cyrus was referring to. This I asked him to look at 33 and 34 because that's the two red blood moons, which are happening on feast dates again. And this comet comes through. We won't tell what it's saying, but it comes through in 33, and then it comes again in 38 when Jupiter is making this triple conjunction. It's just, I mean, it's just so remarkable. It's just crazy.
Okay, so now you don't want to give that away. What do you what do you save it up for? You're killing me here. What is 2033? So Cyrus has asked about 2033, or you've asked Cyrus about 2033, 2034. I've asked you to look at 2033.
Let's look at one thing. Let's look at one thing here. So the comet comes in.
Here, Mark. Here you go. There's what I'm trying to say. You're holding out. You're holding out on us.
Well, but look at if okay, I'll tell you this, that in 2033 it makes the same path it did in 2 BCE. Same path. The comet's name is Macholz. I put it up in that. Yeah, it is Machholz. Macholz. Macholz. So thank you, Joy and Soprano, Jesse. That was awesome. I appreciate that. And if you have questions, I know that you have my website, but if it doesn't have my email is mark@livingmessiah.com if you want to get hold of me. But what I wanted to say here for Brother Cyrus, this is some really, I think we've got to mine this out, because remember, Israel sees a solar eclipse in 2028 when Macholz comes. They see the next one in 2034. Macholz comes in 2033. So in that 7-year period that they see these two solar eclipses, I find this very interesting. I mean, this is just really, really awesome. I will also tell you one other thing. Macholz does come in 2023. I knew Joe would get a smile out of that.
Yes, and okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, at sideofmoon.com, we are saying that the judgment on Israel has begun in 2020. We have been warning you and telling you that was starting in 2020 since 2005. We've got it published in all our books, 2020. We even said May 31st, 2020. And sure enough, March 2020, WHO announces a worldwide pandemic. And May 31st, the riots began across the United States. And that same angst is still there to this day.
An answer to Soprano Jesse's question, yes, it makes the same one in 2033 as it made in 2 BCE. Sorry.
Yeah. So we expect to see the two witnesses on the world scene starting in 2026. And we expect to see them also killed in 2030. And we expect to see the end of which is the start of the tribulation. And we expect to see the end of the tribulation in 2033. So the stuff that Mark is coming out with is stunning.
Well, all I'm doing is finding it. It's there. I mean, Abba put it there. Okay. So as Psalm 19 says, all it's doing is declaring his glory. We've got to be watchers, and we've got to be able to look at and piece it together. But it's his witnesses, his signs.
Yeah. So now I don't want to steer you away. Are you just taking a breath here? Because I want to zero in on 2033, unless you want to go someplace else.
Well, if you would like to, I mean, we can go back and look at the path again of 2 BCE, because that's the same path.
Okay. So I also asked you, because the reason I arrived at 2033 was because of what it says in Luke 17, I believe it is. Sure enough, I don't write my notes down where I can find them.
I don't,
Luke 17, 28, I think it is.
We have talked about this, but if that comet in 2 BCE and the Jupiter were the signs of the coming, obviously they had to see something, right? The Magi saw something, says they followed his star. Well, stars don't move except the planets and the comets. So if you're following something, that means you're following the path that it's moving in. It's my interpretation. And so up until this year, I've always thought of it as a stationary object, but now I realize, like Abram, they were seeing the story that the star was moving through. We followed his star. We know now this is the sign of the one coming. So if that was the sign, and it makes the same appearance in 2033, and Yeshua says you will see the sign of the Son of Man, it makes you wonder, what is the sign? Are we looking at the sign? I don't know. I find it very interesting.
So, okay, so that's what I was getting to a little bit. That's one of the things. Is this the sign of the coming of the Son of Man in 2033 AD, Common Era? Is this the sign? Is there enough clues there? I'm not trying to pin you down. I'm trying to get you to identify something that's in the sky that maybe we should be paying attention to as the potential sign.
Let me answer one thing. Scott in Texas says, some of your slides show the sun. How could Abram see the sign if he's looking at the sun? Well, just before the sun rises, you can see what's on one side of the sun. And after the sun sets, you can see the other side. So all it takes for you to do is for the sun to be just below the horizon in the east, you'll see one side of it. And when it sets in the west, you'll see the other side. So you can see both. Like if the sun was right over Regulus, I could see both sides of Regulus waiting for the sun to just before it comes up in the east and after it sets in the west. So that answers that question. To answer your question, Joseph, that is, I don't know if it's the sign. All I know is it's appearing again. And it's not only appearing in the same pattern, but Jupiter is doing the same thing. So this is to me, very interesting. And it has my attention because the same sign that appeared announcing his birth, those same signs are appearing in the 30s. And I just tell you, everything I look at, everything that I see, including the red blood moons coming on feast dates again in the 30s, everything keeps pointing to the 30s. And it's very astounding to me. So I present this to say, I want others to look and examine with me because I don't know the answer to that, if it is for sure the sign of the Son of Man. But it's certainly very compelling.
Yeah. So one of the scriptures, I don't know which one it is that I'm thinking of right now, is that the woman, maybe it's Revelation, the woman flees into the wilderness for time and a half time. But when she's there and Jehovah says that he's going to talk with us or plead his case with us face to face. Face to face. And my imagination goes back to Mount Sinai with Moses talking to him face to face, and the 70 elders seeing him at the banquet. Is that what's in store? Because if that is this a sign that he's coming? And again, I'm not trying to pin you down. I'm just saying, wow, all the stuff that you're showing, and it's making my head spin with all these other scriptures that are there, and trying to put them all together, trying to connect the dots.
So I've watched this comet, Holtz, because you've encouraged me to go back to other dates. I've watched its movement through when it appears. And the only two times I've seen it go through this path that it did that we're talking about is 2 BCE and 2033. I haven't seen it go through that same path before. So it's very interesting. And it could it have happened before? Maybe. I just haven't seen it yet. And I wonder if because it is going to appear again, like I said, in 23 and 38. And it does one last one that I'll mention to you in 2044. You'll probably find that really interesting.
See, he holds it back just that little bit more. Okay, Cyrus, I've got you muted. I've just, because of the feedback. Did you want to say anything? Did you want to ask me anything right now?
Let me say this one real quick. I want to answer Soprano Jesse's. I just want to answer Soprano Jesse's question. Yes, the red blood moons are happening in 32, 33, and 34, and they are going to happen on feast dates again, like they did in 14 and 15. When you see that happen, the moon appears in the same spot it did 18 to 19 years apart. It's called a metonic cycle. And I have other examples of that. But anyway, so the answer to her question is yes, it is going to happen again. Okay,
Cyrus?
Brother Cyrus.
Mark, you said that the comet appears again in 2023,
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay, which month?
January 30th. But it will go into probably February. I don't have the duration because it's going more than just a day. So it might go from January to April. I don't have the ending of when it does its path, but it is going to be in January 2023. And what's interesting is
You said April.
Well, it could go into it starts in January. It could move all the way into April of 23. I just don't have the ending of it.
As far as April 20th? As far as April 20th?
Possibly. I would have to look to be certain. I don't know for sure the ending of it.
Okay. Could you email me that, please? Because I have something happening April 20th of 2023.
Okay. Yes, sir. You see, what's interesting is when we combine the things that we're researching, wonderful things come out, and that's what I'm very excited about.
Yes, me too, and that's why I've enjoyed talking with you both. Okay, so Cyrus, I'm going to mute you again unless you got something else.
Just before we close, I would just
We're
like
not
to
closing
take 10
yet.
or 15
We are not
minutes.
closing yet. I'm not going to let them close yet.
Okay, but just before we do, I'd like to take 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
Wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful.
Now, okay, so I muted you again, Cyrus. So now Cyrus has got something else. So you see what, Mark, you spurred on his brain here to think of something else. So I asked you to look at the time of Noah's flood, and I asked you to look at Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes.
And I asked you to compare that to 2033. And you wrote back and you were stunned. Can you, because I haven't, since you wrote me that email, I haven't inquired anymore. I've been waiting for today. Don't do this to me. Please don't leave me hanging for another month. Tell me what's going on those dates.
Well, I will tell you this, so yes, Brother Joseph asked me to look back at the date that's in the prophecies of Abraham, which was 20, I have it written down here,
2181 for the flood.
181 and 1790, yeah. So when I went to 2181, this gets crazy stuff. This is the time that Joseph is putting in his book. That's the time of the flood. And so there's 36 constellations in the heavens. And if I was to try to make something to be just wow, off the charts, where would I pick this comet to go through? The same comet we're talking about, Mahotz. Out of the 36, there's only one of them that has anything to do with water. Well, I take that back. There's water that comes out of Orion's feet, but and that's Aquarius, the water bearer. And lo and behold, this comet makes a path right through the water bearer at the year of this flood. I was so stunned when I saw that. But it wasn't just, and I would like to show this in a future show, because when people see, it just didn't go through it like through his hand or through his head or through the jar. It's the way that it moved through it that was so crazy. It's like only Abba could have made it do that. And it really tells the prophetic evidence of what was to come.
And just to be fair to everyone, I asked Mark this maybe last week. He came back with his answer on Wednesday, and he had to meet with us right away. He was so excited. So I'm getting the impression he wants to do another separate teaching just on this alone.
There's no way I could tell them what it looks like. It would have to be shown. I mean,
yes. So
when you see it, it's very amazing.
Did you have a chance to look at 1790?
I did. And in 1790, which is very interesting, I want to share. Let me share a couple of other things about 2180. All right.
2181.
Yeah, 2181. So in 2182, about November, Jupiter is in Ophiuchus, the constellation called Wrestling with the Enemy. And Saturn is in the tip of the horn of the bull, and also in the staff, the end of the staff, like a jewel and a scepter of Orion. Let's see, what did I write here? Jupiter in 2185. So 4 years before the flood, Jupiter is, guess what? It's in Regulus like it was in these other places. Imagine that. So it's just these signs. I mean, it's just very, very interesting. And so there's another comet that I think can possibly be very prophetic, because it comes around the same time that Mahultz does its thing. They may be. I'll have to do some more looking, and maybe we'll figure that out together as we do the shows. But it's called SOHO, SOHO, and it makes these bends around the sun, lighting up the sky as we saw in these other ones, very prophetically. And so,
tell me, SOHO rings a bell with me, and I can't remember why. What has it just appeared recently?
Yes, these are both fairly new discovered comets. However, they've been around forever, and so they do, when they come through, they are going to have magnitude, according to what I'm seeing in the research, of a 12 magnitude, 8 magnitude, which I think I'd looked up. Anything above a 6 is visible in the naked eye, so they're going to be visible. And both of these I think have a prophetic occurrence. So let me get back to you said 1790.
Now 1790 is when Sodom and Gomorrah are destroyed. 1790 BC.
Yeah. And so what's interesting is this comet Mahultz does an appearance in 1794, and it goes through the tail of the goat, the slain goat for the redeemed, which is a fish's tail, again talking about fish, and it lights up Aquarius. 2 years later, SOHO in 1792 does the exact same pass. Exact same pass. And then in the year 1790, Jupiter is in Ophiuchus, which is the wrestling with the enemy. I'm reading comments. When? Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, those people who keep Sabbath service with us also know that we have about a 5-hour service that we are talking and debating things out. So, an hour or two with you is nothing for them. Okay, but so you need more time to prepare this, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I only have this prepared for you. I will tell you that you inspired me to look at some other timelines, and so I did see. I I can't remember off the top of my head here because I just made a copy of it Friday. I just took a picture of it. But I have never seen two comets together in the sky next to each other, lighting up the same constellation. And it happened. And so it's to me, probably another very prophetic thing. And I think, if I'm right, I think it's around that 586 time. So.
Okay, 586 being what time? 586 BC, ladies and gentlemen. What year is that? What took place then?
Yeah.
No, tell them.
This would be the return of the exiles.
586 BC is when they went into captivity. That's
okay,
when Judah fell.
Into captivity. Yes.
So this is just another date. He's just looking up and seeing what's going on there, and he's finding things.
Yeah.
So
very
good. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got questions and you want to, now's the time to ask. We're about to wrap this up. Wow. There are things pointing to the dates of 2033. There are things pointing to the end of this Jubilee cycle of 2044.
There's things pointing to 2033 and 34, as well as 2027 and 28. These are the very important dates to be thinking of. So I'm going to say them again. Let me just point out, we do have two this year, 2020, October of this year and December of this year, which the December one is Leonoid makes the path in December, which really has a lot of connection with Brother Cyrus's findings of what's taking place, the shaking, which may need to have a show where we both can share about that, because that's very prophetic. But then you've got 2023, 2027, and 28. Macholtz and Soho do a 27, 28, companion visit. They also do a companion visit path in 32 and 33. Soho goes in 32. Macholtz goes in 33. And then Soho comes in 37 and Macholtz comes in 38. Again, probably not coincidence that this 2 years in a row, back to back. I think there could be prophetic messages behind this double path that these two make 2 years in a row.
So with the Jubilee year of 2045, the start of the 7th millennium, all end time prophecy for the 6th millennial day must be completed. Satan must be bound up. King David must be back and ready to rule, and the tribulation must be over. You have from today until 2049 for all these things to take place. And Brother Mark is showing you things in the sky that Abraham was looking at that were prophetic to Abraham, our father, about the Messiah coming in 3 BC, 2 BC. And those same things are happening now in the skies in the years right in front of us.
So one other thing I wanted to mention, I'm going to answer 2 questions, is the name of the program, the STAR program, is called Starry Night. I use the pro version. And the other question was Macholtz's name. I don't know what it means. I don't have a prophetic meaning for it. I just find it interesting that when this comet comes through, it's happening in a path that is very correlated to the Messiah. So, and very interesting things that are taking place here on Earth in the past. I forgot to mention Soho makes a path in 43 and Macholtz does the one in 44. So that's very interesting because that's the last 2 years of the 7th cycle.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I think I promised you an interesting show, one that would make you go, wow. Mind you, I couldn't do anything about it. It was all up to Mark and Cyrus. And I think they both brought some very good information, interesting information. Again, we are not, what are we not? We are not astronomers or astrologers or financial consultants or magicians. We are brethren who are reading the Torah and looking at what it says and noticing these other things and wondering if they are related to each other. Is that fair, Mark?
It's fair. We're doing as Psalm 19 says, we're looking up at the glory that God is revealing to us every night and seeing what this says, because others followed it and interpreted it as well.
So Brother Mark has looked at Abraham's time, 1809 BC, Jehovah's birth, I'm saying 3 BC, and he's seeing the stuff 3 and 2 BC. And now he's comparing it to 2033, and we're seeing a pattern. Just saying, there might be something there. With that, I'm sorry. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, I almost forgot. Cyrus, go ahead, sir. You are unmuted. We had to mute you because of the feedback.
Okay.
That's all.
I understand, no problem. Besides, I just wanted to listen. There's no way I could pick up all the papers on my desk to show you everything that I've got here. That it just is tremendous. It's tremendous. Wow, is not even big enough. Tremendous. But anyway, what I wanted to say doesn't really have to do with cycles. It does, because this past week, generating this information, doing research based on the dates that Mark gave me and things that we talked about in the last show, I'm seeing things that really weigh heavy on my heart. Okay. I haven't done any calculations. I really do want to get through this cycle before I start my calculations for the next cycle, which will be, let's see, the solar eclipse, I think, is in December 4th, and then November 19th is a lunar eclipse. So figure 6 weeks either side of that, roughly. I'll have to do the math later to find out exactly what it's going to be. It looks to be, this is what I'm calling it. I'm calling it the earthquake. This cycle really looks strong. Okay. And that's why I said it looks like he's going to shake us from top to bottom. And if I'm not mistaken, so I believe in December and cuts the head off the serpent. Doesn't it, Mark?
In December, it cuts the head and the tail of the serpent off.
Right, the head and the tail. Right. And see, we just, right now, we're going to be going into a solar eclipse that will be the head. And then in December, we're going to go into a solar eclipse that'll be the tail. Okay. So I see things are coming. What I wanted to tell everybody, we're in what I've been telling the Kahal and everybody that would learn a period of grace right now. Okay. Food is still available. Many things are still available. I see major changes coming in climate that could shorten the growing seasons, that could damage crops that are already planted. There's going to be shortages of food. Please take this opportunity to put away extra food, even if it's just a matter of buying a few cans extra every time you go shopping, or maybe a couple of pounds of rice every time you go shopping, or dried beans, or anything, because I believe we're coming into very hard times. And also, we're coming into a very strong period of destabilization. We're entering into it now. And even though I've told you, I think it's July 14th is the cutoff date for this particular cycle that we're in, there is a momentum already going that it could carry into the next cycle. Okay, we've seen that already. We saw the crazy part of the cycle in November and January, November 2020 through January 2021, and it's just moved. The momentum of the craziness is still carrying on. The cycle is ending, but things are still crazy. The momentum is still there. So with that in mind, as we come out of this cycle, it may not de-escalate. It may continue to be at the same level, but when we get to the next cycle, it'll peak once again. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what Vaughn and I are doing. Okay. It's kind of hard to invest in gold at $1,800 an ounce, but we invest in silver. Okay. I believe right now is a very important time, and we want to invest in silver to protect us against the failure of the American currency. I believe it's just around the corner. There's too much stuff going on, and it's too, how should I say, there's too many signs there to just turn a blind eye to it. I'll say it that way. Okay, if you do so, you do so at your own risk. I'm not like Brother Joe said, I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not an astrologist or anything. In fact, most all of my paperwork comes directly from NASA, and I do my calculations based on that. But we're not seeing things de-escalate like they did in past cycles. Okay, it's staying basically level to the next cycle, and then it spikes up, and it goes at a new high from that cycle to the next. And that is going to be a very dangerous trend that we're going to be seeing for I don't know how much longer. It could go on indefinitely, in a number of months or years. So please, like I tell the Cahal, put away extra food, extra water, about a gallon per person per day. And also, we have extra clothes because we know there's people that are going to need clothes. The climate's changing. We could need cold weather gear that we don't normally have here in Texas. We do need it in New Mexico in the mountains, but we don't have it for here. This year, we saw that, okay, maybe we do need to have cold weather gear here. So there's a lot of things changing, and it's not a stable situation anymore. It's very fluid. So just please remember that you're the only one responsible for yourself, but you're also responsible for those who are your family members. I can't do it for you. Brother Mark can't do it for you. Brother Joe can't do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. Please protect yourself. Okay. And by protect, I don't mean grab a gun. I mean, buy food, make sure if you have a generator, you have fuel to run the generator. Just simple things that a lot of people don't think about. We live off the grid in New Mexico, so we do things daily that most people don't even think about. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Just please use caution, and don't go out and cash out your retirement and buy silver and buy food. But, just buy a few coins now and then. You can still get them, silver dollars, about $25, $26. Don't try to buy the expensive stuff. Try to buy the small stuff, things that you can afford. And same with food, please. And if nothing else, plastic bottles full of tap water. And we always run our tap water through a filter anyway. But I just wanted to say that. Please prepare.
Okay. Thank you, Cyrus.
Okay.
I got to mute you again. Sorry, Cyrus. Just wave your hand if you got to jump back in. On that note of what Cyrus said, I'd just like to say about the fourth curse of the fourth sabbatical cycle. The fourth curse of the fourth sabbatical cycle is Leviticus 26, about I will send the sword, I will send the plague, and I will send famine. And the plague's here. The plague is here. The Americans might think they're coming out of it. He also says that I will make this cling to you until you are destroyed. Are they about to have a crisis like India did? I don't know. But I do know what the scripture says. It's not going to go away. Famine is involved in that. We're about to begin a sabbatical year starting at Aviv in 2023. In a sabbatical year, you are to stock up on food. You're commanded to stock up on food in the 6th year, so that in the 7th year, you don't have to eat. You don't have to plant and sow and harvest. It's time to start taking Torah seriously and taking Jehovah seriously at what he says. Judgment is here. It's already here. It's on Israel and it's on the world. And it's going to get worse. I've been praying to be wrong for a long time. And some of you are saying, sadly, you're still here. Yeah, sadly, I am still here because we haven't repented. Had we have repented and returned to Torah as a people, as an individual, as a family, as a state or province, as a country, these things wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't have to sit here and talk to Mark and Cyrus and about stuff that's terrible things that are going to happen. But because we don't repent, they're going to get worse. So heed what Cyrus said and listen to what God says in the Bible. Mark, I'll let you go first. Cyrus, I see you waving your hand, and just let Mark go first.
So I was just going to say, our congregation, Living Messiah, also has an off-grid property here in Arizona, and so we're doing things to get prepared. The other interesting thing is, Randy asked, you posted up there, we didn't talk about it. He asked about the things that happened in 70 AD. I'm looking at that to make connections between what happened in 70 AD and 586, and then an answer to someone else's question. Oh, Michelle's question. So we just talked about the 2023 Maholt's coming in January through February. So yes, that comet's coming through then. So hopefully that answers those questions.
Okay, Cyrus. Well, I was going to address Michelle's question also. Like I said, I was told a number of years ago, just in conversation, that this was a servant of Yahweh, that December 2021, that the earth would reel to and fro like a drunkard. Some people interpret that as a pole shift. I don't know. There's two types of pole shift. One, the magnetic forces invert, and the other one is the earth inverts. Okay, the flipping of the magnetic poles is not a disastrous event. If the earth inverts, that's a disastrous event. Okay. Let's see, there was another question I was trying to address, and I can't remember now which one. Oh, I did want to say thank you to Jessica, who wrote us during the week. Appreciated her email. That was a very good email, and I want to thank Jessica for that. And any more information, please shoot back to us again. I don't know about land prices in New Mexico. We've been there for 26 years, so things have changed. So I call a realtor.
Yeah. Okay. So Cyrus, can I ask you to close this up with prayer right now? Would you mind doing that, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't mind at all. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the wisdom, the understanding, the teaching that we've heard today. We know that it's from you. It's because it's all about you. It's about your creation. It's about your Son. It's about how you reveal things through your creation that we can experience. We can look up and we can see the glory of creation right here in front of us. And we thank you so much for that, Father. It brings glory and honor to your kingdom, and it brings glory and honor to your name. We want to thank you for everything that Brother Mark has taught us, Brother Joe has taught us. Father, we also want to lift up prayers and blessings upon those who listen to the broadcast and those who will hopefully listen in the future, that they will take away from it the blessings that I feel that I received from it. We're coming into troublous times, Father, and there's nothing that we as humans can do but to call on your name. That's all we can do. You can give wisdom, and you can give it bountifully. You can give us understanding, and you can give us all the many blessings that we need in order to be prepared for the coming times and coming trials. We pray that we might be obedient to your Torah and the keeping of the feast, that they are signs between you and us, and that by keeping those, you can see our desire to be obedient to you, Father. Forgive us of all the times that we have failed you. We thank you once again, Father, for all your many blessings. And we ask this in your set apart name and that of your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. And Mark, these notes, would they be on your website per se?
Which notes? No, I just finished putting this up Friday, so no, I don't have them up yet. If you'd like me to send it to you, I can.
Yeah, I'd love to have it. I can put it on my website, but there's yours right there. Yes, I would love to have it. I'll put it out in the newsletter. I think this is phenomenal stuff.
Yep.
So, and just so everyone's listening, when are we going to get together again?
Well, that's to be worked out, isn't it?
Okay, so we have another appointment. We got to talk more about 2033, and
we probably should talk again about 2021 because we haven't really connected what Brother Cyrus has revealed and then show the pictures of what that comet is doing. If we did that, that would add some more impact to what's going on in 2021.
In November 2021.
December, yeah.
November, December. Okay. Yeah, some people saying next week. I think you might need a little more time to get ready. So
I actually have the comet stuff prepared. So because we did a show on that, so I mean we could do one next week if we wanted to. That's not a problem.
Okay, well let's think about that and check our schedules, and we'll get back to you. In the meantime, Jehovah be with you all. Jehovah bless you all, and I thank you for joining us. And share this video with others. And to be ready for the next time we get together, subscribe to SightedMoon.com. Do you have a newsletter, Mark, at your place?
Do I have a what?
Do you have a newsletter? Do you send out a newsletter?
I don't do a newsletter. I send out emails occasionally, but yeah. We go on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that, and I have a podcast that goes out weekly. So
okay, so you can go there and listen to it. And let me put Cyrus's link up here. Where'd you go? And you can go there to Cyrus, and he puts out a update. It's every so often. It's not on a regular basis. Am I correct? Yeah,
that's correct.
Okay. So. Thank you, brethren, and thank you, Mark and Cyrus, and Jehovah be with you all. Shalom.
Amen. Shalom.
Shalom.